Hello everyone, welcome to my live stream. My name is Denise Hutchins and I'm broadcasting to you from Studio Mikarts. Our charity of the month is the Vegan Society. I'm going to be making a donation at the end of the month based on my unique viewers count, so please watch my stream and bring your friends. Let's try to get a new record. There's just this is the last full week of streaming. There'll be one or two more streams next week, but time is running out. So there's also a more direct way you can contribute and help the animals. We actually, thanks to the wonderful Wolf, already reached our 10-pound fundraising goal here on Twitch. So we can exceed that goal. So if you feel so inclined, if you're able to help, please donate that way as well. It's Wednesday, which means it's time for illustration. Yay! We are getting so close to done with this piece. It's going to be a birthday card. It's going to be folded. Not this physical piece, but the final piece will be printed, folded in half along this way to be a 7x5 half-fold greeting card meant for birthdays. So that's why this is birthday scene. And we finished the watercolor work last week and just barely started some inking. Oh, there's a little pet hair on here. I had this hanging up like this all week and still gets a pet hair on it. I'm gonna wipe it off in case there's any more. Okay, anyway, we got a little bit of inking done, but there's plenty more to do, not just inking, but scraping to get some textured highlights, and then some white gouache. I think I'm going to go for white gouache, but maybe not, because this is right here next to me. This Deleter white ink, so if we actually get to that point, I might just go ahead and use the white ink, because they're both matte finish, which is what I want, and so honestly, it doesn't really matter for the effect I'm going for, just little touches of solid highlights. I might just use this. So we'll see if we get there, though, because there's a lot of work to be done before we start highlights. So what I'm going to use is this pen, this dip pen, with I don't remember what kind of nib this is. Saji, maybe? I think this is a Saji pen. Anyway, I've got it in my favorite holder. This is my favorite because it's super lightweight, like crazy light. It's so crazy light. And having the nib on the end, because it is so light, it's actually, the center of gravity is like right here, which is less fatiguing. When the end is really heavy, it pushes on your hand here, but this, like, you can't even feel it. It also has this nice cork grip. Oh, come on, camera. You don't want to play with me today, camera. No, it still doesn't want to play with me. Okay, I'll hold my arm up and then maybe it will. And there we go. Alright, so there it is. Nice cork grip. You can see how much I use this pen because I'm a very fastidious artist, and yeah, it's still got stains on it, but yeah, this is my favorite. The brand is E+M. And then it says Germany on the bottom, which I assume is where it's manufactured. So this is the main tool I'm going to be using today for inking. I figure it will work for everything I want to do. Here's the little test I did, showing the various line weights I can achieve with that nib. So there's a lot of variety, but also it's not a wily, it's not a wily nib that is super soft and hard to control. In order to support my inking, I've got this bowl of water. I just like to use it to clean the nib. Sometimes even if you're inking with the same color, you still need to clean the nib because it will collect the ink on the tip. It will get chunky and then the ink won't flow off anymore. So I've got my water, my little towel. I've got this pen rest, which I got forever ago and I forgot about until relatively recently. So nice pen rest. And the ink that we're going to start with is this watercolor ink. I didn't choose it because it's watercolor ink. I just chose it because it was the color that I wanted. The color is called Mint, and the brand is Marabu. It's another German brand, so yeah. I think that's that's it to explain what we're doing and what we're using. So let's go ahead and get started. We've already done a lot of stuff. I realized last time that I didn't have time to finish this last string of flags. So I wanted to do that before I forget. I was adding a little hatching pattern on them. I wonder if maybe to make it more interesting, I will purposefully, yeah, let's do that. Because who says that the pattern isn't on the back side, and this one got hung up this way, and so we'll say that this string of flags has the opposite pattern because it was hung up like this. Like that idea. Okay. So when I'm inking, I do my best to carefully hold the bottle, unless there's a few ink brands that have really well designed bottles and you don't have to worry about it at all. Most ink brands though come in these kind of containers where their center of gravity is relatively high and they're easy to knock over. So I'm going to hold this in my non-dominant hand. Well, at least it's non-dominant for activities that require a lot of precision and finesse. It's my dominant hand for strength-based activities. Anyway, so I guess I have a dominant arm. Alright, so I'm dipping the ink, dipping the nib into the ink, and I like to scrape off any extra drops just in case you don't want it to be like, oh, there's a whole bunch, I'm going to drip right onto your page. That does happen. So just start here. I need to angle my hand differently. Oh, that's better. I actually want to turn the page, but I'm so close to done. We'll just finish this off like this. It's getting harder and harder to draw the lines because I keep having to do my hand further and further in this direction. That's good. That's good enough. Alright, so I'm going to rinse the nib. Just set it down on the towel for now. And close this ink. It's kind of not laborious, but a bit of, I can't think of the word. There are a lot of steps when I ink because I don't want to accidentally spill. It would be a nightmare if I spilled this on it all over across the, like, actually when I think of that I'm like, maybe I should have scanned this first, but I'll just do my best to be careful. But that means that when I need to stop to look at what I'm doing, I need to cap the ink. For one, to keep it from spilling. Also, so that it doesn't dry out. And then two, I don't want the ink to dry on here, so that's why I have to clean it off too. Alright, so I got these little lines match over here. Now all the flags have their nice little texture. I could add some texture to the hats, but I don't want to just because this one hat ended up with this beautiful organic texture on it. I didn't do it on purpose. I wasn't aiming for this, but I love how that turned out. So I don't want to ruin that by drawing on top of it. So I'm going to leave the hats be. The only thing I might do is do a little outline, but I don't think it needs it. The contrast is really nice, even with this green against green. The color is so different. I guess I could squint my eyes and make sure. Yeah, even squinting my eyes, so when you squint your eyes, it kind of takes a little bit of the color information away from your brain so that you can focus on the contrast and the shapes and the shadows. I'm still seeing a natural line on all of these hats, so I don't think I need any ink there. So it might be done. Oh no, I'm not done, because I wanted to add, I added a little bit here on this cupcake. I wanted to add a little more super fine details on the frosting of this cupcake. So that's what I'll do next, and I think that'll be the end of using this color green. Okay. The only thing is, considering the angle that it is, it's hard because normally I'm like, I'll just move it with this hand and ink with this hand. Maybe what I can do, I had a brilliant idea. Okay, if I move some stuff around to my right, okay, I've got this little mobile storage tower, and it's like the perfect height to, and it also has little wells and stuff for you to store stuff on and use it as a workspace or like a tool space. I'm figuring out a new way to work right now, live on stream. If I set this down over here to my right, then I don't have to hold it the whole time. I can just reach over and grab it. And then even if I spill it, it's just spilling on this like white plastic thing, and it's even a well so that it won't, like, there's less chance of it spilling out onto the floor. It'll just spill in there. Yay, I figured out a thing. So then this way I can do what I usually like to do, which is turn this to suit whatever direction I need to do, need to draw the lines in. Because with a dip pen like this and with fountain pens, for example, you really have to pull it this way. Sometimes it'll work to do it like this, is why I always try a little bit to draw from the side. But it really needs to be drawn with sort of, I don't remember the name for the hole in the middle here of the nib. That needs to be facing up, basically. Haha, I'm so happy! I figured out a problem that has been nagging me for years. Okay. It's probably because I have not had my setup quite like this all the time, so it works right now because I have this cart to my side, and also having my wireless keyboard and mouse help too, because now I have a lot more room here as well. Okay. Wonderful! Yay! Just adding little bits. It's really tempting. I'm going to do my best not to do it, to get crazy with the ink lines. But I'll try to remember what is sitting in front of what and where the most shadow is, because I think that the places with more shadow I can get away with a little bit more ink. So I've found that if you get crazy with the inking becomes your main character, and that's not what I want at all. For some artists, that might actually be ideal, because some artists create their work to show off the media or just an emotion or something else, not quite what I'm working on. But I want to tell a story, so the media should always be secondary. If possible, if I can achieve what I aim to do. I'm going to do a little hatching in this area too. Nice. Let's call that good. I don't want to, I say that and then I'm like, wait, right here. There, now let's call that good. I always do that. I'm like, yeah, that's good enough. And then I keep going. Okay, once again, rinsing off the nib, wiping it off. It's so worth it to do this because now it's perfectly clean and ready to go for whatever next color I want to use. Let's double check that there's not any more places I want to use that particular green, but I don't see any because I did this cupcake. I even did a little bit on these leftover bits of cupcake that are all over this backmost baby griffin. not just the face, but the whole head, the hat. This one. Okay, good. Let's call that good. Cap this ink again. So what color do I want to use next? I'm going to open my reference images. I got them open ahead of time this time, so I didn't have to spend a couple minutes doing that on stream. So that's not really, it's not the end of the world if I need to stream that, but that's not really what I want to stream. What I'm looking for is some of those reference images that had the nests. I can't remember, I had a really good one. Here's one. This'll work. So this reference image is a baby, well, like a juvenile, like these three. Little pied cormorant in a nest in this, like, the tree looks dry, but it definitely has green leaves on it, so I think that's just what it looks like, which is what I'm looking for so that I can see what kind of texture I can add to these limbs in the background and also the sticks and things that are making up the nest. Okay. It's not anything special, so I think I can just sort of wing it and sort of add texture willy-nilly based on my general understanding of how bark can be drawn, which is always so nice because then I could just relax while I draw. So, just squeezing past my mobile workstation storage thingy so that I can get to my inks. What I want is probably a gray ink. I think I have one. I have this one called Muted Gray, but it's like a... What's this one? Oh, that's black. It's more like a purple. There's blue, orange, yellow. Maybe I don't have an ink that works. There's a purple. Need like an actual gray. What about over here? No? Oh, what shall I do? Maybe I'll use graphite. So I don't have the kind of gray I want. I have only this purplish gray. Move this back over. Alright, I'm gonna have a sip of my lovely mineral water. Okay. Well, this will be different. Ooh, I can use this new pencil I got. I got this Tombow, what is it called? Tombow Monograph. I got this in a, well, actually I got it last December in a Mido in a box. Blind box type thing, stationery. I don't remember what was special about it, but it's very pretty, and this part is so smooth. And has a huge amount of eraser. You spin it out. Look at it, just keeps going and going and going and going. Look at that, this is a full inch. Full inch of eraser, that'll last a while. I definitely won't be erasing though, because I don't want to erase the color. Okay. So this will be fun and different. I've got to remember that I've done this. Oh, maybe I'll wait actually. Yeah, I better wait, because if I put graphite down and then I smudge it, oh, I can't do anything about it. Okay, so I'm going to put this here so that I remember later. This is for adding details on the wood. Okay, next thing then. What do I want some more? Oh, maybe on their faces. I suppose a brown would be good, because we have both this these dark markings and this lighter, I don't want to call it material. That's weird. Lighter parts. So let me get a brown ink. Brown ink. This one might work. Got this Winsor Newton. Winsor Newton. This one is a little bit better for stability of the bottle because it's angled out like this. It's still not the best though. My best one is like it's really wide and low pot, and it also has a little cutout for you to rest your brush on the lid. It's the best, but it's black ink for manga. So, all right, what I'm doing right now is I'm trying not to shake it like this because that'll make lots of bubbles. I already have made bubbles, but I'm trying to rotate it so that it mixes a little bit more. As you can see, maybe you can't see. Oh, you can kind of see like this. There's this thick layer of pigment all dried up. I wonder if it'll actually help after this, if I can remember to add a little bit of water, because it might be just drying out too. But at least it doesn't look crazy thin. The color looks good on the ink that's currently liquid, even if there's this huge amount that's dry and solid at the bottom. Well, let's call this good and try it. Open this up. Oh, the lid is kind of stuck. All right. I could use this on the cupcakes as well. This is a very similar color. My pen barely goes in. The opening is so small. Okay. Gotta hold it at an angle because it's also super low on ink there. There we go. Got some ink on there. Let's start over this side. And I want to emphasize this smile on this baby here. And maybe this bottom, and not too much, but the bottom edge of the beak. Help it show that it's coming out forward toward the viewer. Coming over here. Let's see what happens if I use this on the cupcake. Shoop, shoop, shoop. Nice, I can bring back some of that detail from where the cupcakes were baked in a cup liner with that sort of ribbed texture shape. And right here, the cupcake is really close in color to the adult Gryphon's white feathers. So add just a couple touches right there too. Emphasizing that happy eye where the two eyelids are closed, and then we're making it a little bit anime style with the uppy happy line. My descriptions are so otaku based. The uppy happy line. Okay. Awesome. I think that's good. I'm gonna dip a little bit more ink. At least I'll try to. It's so low, it's hard to tell if I'm actually getting any. Alright, that's better. I can see it on the nib now. Next one, this one. Oops, move this. It's in the way. It's in the way now. Lining this eye right here to help show that it's not bugging out. Oh yes. I mean, it still looks like a little button, but it's a little bit better. Emphasizing this part of the mouth that can help give it a sense of being a super happy mouth. And also the edge of the mouth where the outside becomes the inside part of the mouth, basically. Maybe this edge right here. I'm trying to get super teeny tiny lines in some areas. Maybe a tiny bit help this. Just this part stand out from the green in the background. They're very similar shade. Awesome. Okay, let's work on this big cupcake. Might adjust my setup so that I'm dipping the ink on this side. So normally I'm used to holding it and dipping it, and so it made me think to put it over here. But now I'm having to turn my whole body in order to dip this over there. So if I set it where right now I have my keyboard, then maybe that will be, although it won't be as safe. It won't be as safe from spilling. Exie, hello! How are you? Thank you for joining me. Did you have a great weekend? So happy to see you. Hope you're doing well. I'm adding some details on the big cupcake. This top part is the part that baked up outside of the cupcake liner, so it has a more round, fluffy texture. Maybe even like a bubbly. You could call it a bubbly texture. Ooh, I think I am gonna change my position of my ink though. Oh, okay. Thank you so much for stopping by. That is so meaningful to me. It means so much that you stopped by even though you can't stay, just to say hi. I'm so glad you're doing all right too. Yes, I'm doing well too. Thank you, thank you. We might get a, oh, looks like it passed us. We were so close to getting a thunderstorm. That would have been my favorite. Yeah, I'm doing great. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Oh, congratulations. Your first drawing commission. That's awesome. What is it for, if you don't mind sharing? Your drawings are always so lovely. You're welcome. You're welcome. let's see, I'm gonna put my, I was trying to see about not putting my keyboard here, but it looks like I gotta put my keyboard here in order to, there, good. And this way I can move my ink over to this side where my writing hand is, and that makes more sense. Oh, that'll be lovely. Oh, awesome. Well, if they don't mind you sharing it, I'd love to see it in the Discord when you're done. I've liked all of the images that you've shared of your drawing style. I love how colorful it is, and it's like clean lines, but also a little bit sketchy, just a tiny bit of sketchy, and it looks really good. And they're going to use it as their profile picture, and then you're going to be inundated with requests. And everyone's going to be like, Exie, you have to make my profile picture. Nice. Oh, you're welcome, you're welcome. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Oh, thank you so much. I hope you have a great day too. Well, a great night where you are. Great night. Great tomorrow. Yay! See you tomorrow! This cupcake, I am emphasizing these ribs from where the cupcake liner was, but since it's so close up, we can see a lot more texture. So I'm not just doing a single straight line. And the little dotted lines show that even where the cupcake liner was, there's still some texture happening. And then let's do a similar kind of thing here on the bottom. This dang brown ink, I keep having to grab it anyway because I have to tilt it. So like I have to tilt it sideways like this in order to get enough ink to get on the nib. To put my arm down so that the page would stop moving around. Because since I did a watercolor on here and I did not tape it down or anything, because I don't usually use a really heavyweight paper. It doesn't bother me if it's a little warped because I just smush it down in the scanner anyway when I scan it to digitize it, so it's not that big of a deal. But because of that, I have to go boop. So I'm holding it down with this elbow and with this hand. And with the drawing hand too, actually. I might add a little hatching on here with the ink too, to really emphasize that this is the darkest part of the cupcake. This is underneath part that's inside of the mouth, like at least it goes inside of the mouth. And I'll also use this to really emphasize the line of the beak where it visually meets the cupcake. Alright, awesome. I'm going to let that stuff on the bottom dry, and in the meantime I'm just going to do a little bit of random tiny dots to really emphasize how close this cupcake is. So you can even see teeny tiny little texture on it. Okay, sweet. Hopefully that area is dry. I suppose I'll clean off my nib. Even though I'm using the same color, I'm going to clean it off because it is starting to get a little bit of caked on stuff. So, caked on ink. So, that little bit of time to clean that off allows that to dry. The reason why I want it to dry first, even though I'm using the same color, is because if I swipe some new lines on while this is still wet, it will pull the ink that was put down on the first pass, and then it won't look like this ink is texture, this ink is hatching to represent shading. It just sort of look like muddy random lines that they sort of get muddled. I think it's dry enough now. I'm not going to do hatching across the whole thing. Just the area close to the inside of the beak where it will really be more shaded. I think. I have no reference image of a bird holding a cupcake in their mouth like this. This is completely from imagination. Oh, Sarah, hello! How are you? So great to see you! Yeah! I didn't know if I'd ever see you again on Twitch because of your work schedule. Oh, and thank you so much for subscribing! Yay! 8 months! Yay! I'm so happy! Thank you, thank you, thank you. How are you? Hope you're doing well. It sounds like it's a tough transition, but once you're completely transitioned, it'll be really nice for you. I hope that that's already starting to happen. A new workplace, new work schedule. I'm gonna put a little bit of hatching on this part too. I'm going to do it curved. I'm hoping it will not only add shadow, but add dimension to these ribs of the cupcake. I don't want to do too much because it's not super dark in the first place. I'll call that good. I always say I'm going to call it good, and then I keep going. There. Alright. Rinse my brush. Clean the nib. Oh, you have to tell me about the foolishness. Oh, man. Oh, that's good. So much more laid back. Nice. Oh, yeah, that sucks. Hope they arrive soon. It's not good if you can't have your medicine. Like, whenever... I only have one prescription medication, but whenever it gets delayed or whatever, then I'm like, this really... Everything is so smooth when I can take it every day. And then if I miss a few days, then I have to deal with my body being like, what? This thing is not here anymore? Take a drink of water. Alright, any more brown ink areas? I think I actually might want to use it on these leaves. Let me get that reference image I had of the leaves in the nest back up, because I might actually want to do red. Where was it? Was it in this list? Oh yes, it was in this list. In fact, not even red. Yellow might be good. Oh, I can't move it that way. I have to use a scroll bar. Yeah, it's hard to say. Maybe. So as I'm looking at these leaves, they have this nice, soft appearance. Like they're really pliant and they look pleasant to the touch. So I actually think I'll leave it. I'm not going to put any ink on these. I might put some graphite on. I'm going to use this pencil to put graphite on these sticks later because I don't have an ink color that's good, so graphite will do. I'm going to look for those dried leaves in this nest. Yeah, that might be good. Maybe I don't even need anything because the edges of the watercolor, here, I'll hold it up close so we can show some of these dry leaves. Where the different watercolor colors met each other already create a really nice border there, so I think that there's no need for any ink on those leaves. Okay, so what else? I'm just looking the image over for anywhere that could use a little bit of extra detail or enhancement using ink. So it's hard to say. I kind of want to put a little bit on the beaks of these griffins in the back, but they are so far in the back, it might be better to just let them stay back there because they are definitely supporting characters in this scene. If I put too much detail on them, it could affect the sense of depth that I have going on. So if I leave it the way it is, which I think I might as I'm explaining this to myself. The only thing I might do is later adding highlight in this fellow's eyes and maybe some on the claws, but they're so far away you might not see it. I don't have to add ink. Ink is for enhancement. I just thought somewhere else I would use this pencil. On the outsides of the flowers, but just on the part where the shadow would be cast. Not on the top part. The top part is really nice. I want to retain this really soft look. The white flower petals are like one of the softest, most delicate looking things. Top edge of this beak could use a little help. Because this, I accidentally colored this light green color the first time. I forgot it was supposed to be beak. So let's get a yellowish color to help that out. Got this actual yellow ink. It's called yellow ochre. Dr. P.H. Martins. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to say that. That's just how I say it in my head. It's like Dr. Dr. period and then P.H. period. So maybe it's like Doctor of Philosophy Martins. Anyway, this is Bombay India ink. Yellow ochre. So I'm doing the same thing that I did with the other inks, especially the brown one. Instead of shaking, trying to keep the bubbles to a minimum by just rocking it, rotating it, whatever. However, whatever description works. I think it's either one is appropriate to what I'm doing. And it looks really well mixed. Can't really see. Like, unlike that brown ink that I was just using, there's no, like, bunch of stuff at the bottom. So, I think this is ready to go. I just realized I had a great idea. So I have this other paper towel that I was using for my watercoloring. This whole stream is about me figuring out a new inking setup. Just realized, so in case I spill my ink that's over here on my left, on my table on the left, now I have this paper towel right here. Wonderful. Move this green one over here as well. Oh, okay. Well, at least I'm in good company. Everybody else is saying the same. P.H. Martin's. I gotta look it up sometime. When I'm not sure, I like to look it up. Sometimes the brand itself will have a description of how to pronounce it. And the most interesting one I ever found for how to pronounce something is Moleskine, which is spelled Moleskine. So the question becomes like, is it Moleskine? Is it Moleskine? Is it Moleskine? And their explanation, their official explanation, like I'm pretty sure it's on their FAQ, on their FAQ, and it's like, you can pronounce it however you want. That's so funny. I've never seen that before. I've never seen anyone officially announce, like, you can pronounce our name whatever works for you. So I call it Moleskine. And I'm pronouncing it correctly because everything is correct, apparently. Okay, so this is a little troublesome. This opening is like the same size as my grip for this pen. So, since it comes with it, I am going to, it's a bit annoying to have to do this actually, but I'm going to take my little palette here. This ink came with a dropper. I'm just going to drop some on there. Mole skinny. Well, apparently that is valid as well. My Mole skinny notebook. Oh man. Mole skinny. Oh, I just got my fit goal on my Wii Fit meter. Yep, I still take my fit test every day. I still have maps that I haven't gotten everything on. Plus, I've been tracking my body composition journey, I guess, since the first Wii Fit came out. Man, this dropper does not work very well. This doesn't suck anything up. I don't think I'm actually sucking anything up. I think it's just coming out because it sticks to the outside of the dropper and I'm tapping it. Well, hopefully that's enough for my pen to pick up. Because I don't want to dip this into that tiny little opening because it'll get ink all over it and then it'll be all over my hand. So we'll see if this works. Oh man. I could just pour it in. We'll see if this works. If this doesn't work, then I'll just pour it into the well. Okay. Man, I forgot where I was. Oh, yeah, on the beak. It took so long to get that prepared. I forgot where I wanted to use it. This is not gonna... Sometimes I can use it going sideways, but... No, not this time. I have to use it pulling straight back with the nib facing up. Which is the generally expected way to use a dip pen or a fountain pen, but sometimes I can get away with it and it'll work to draw from the side. This is just barely working for this though. I wonder if I add a little water to it, it might actually work a bit better. Okay, try this. This does really help. This is also helping this beak look like it's in front of this black wing. Or at least, I hope that's what it's doing. I think that's what it's doing. Ideally, I wouldn't need such a strong line right there. It does make it look a bit cartoonish, but at this point, I think that's the best solution. It's such a small area. It's just up at the top. It's not that big of a deal. Because the rest of the image isn't particularly cartoony with like big outlines around everything and solid colors. But you just gotta make it work. It's because Oh, Wolf is here! Hello, Wolf! Yay! Welcome, welcome! How are you? Did you have a great weekend? Thank you for joining me today. Oh, I forgot what I was saying. So happy to see Wolf too. Oh, whatever. My train of thought disappeared. It's probably fine. All right. So, oh yeah, I think I remember what I was saying. Because I made a mistake here, and then I just painted over it. But that means that it doesn't stand out the way it would naturally. The way this one kind of stands out. It's like I don't feel the need to add some line right here for this light part of the beak, which is what this would have been. But instead it ended up being a base color similar to this over here. So that's why we're just going to put that cartoony outline there so that at least it helps show, oh, this is part of this, not this is part of this or something. Or what I think was happening was it was just sort of disappearing and not looking like anything. Oh, wonderful. Good weekend. Awesome. Oh, good, 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 good. Yeah, it's hump day, so that's good. Decent work week. And you only got a couple more days to go, right? Oh, long weekend. Oh, it's Memorial Day, right? You have any plans? Gonna have a barbecue. That's standard American celebration, I think. Memorial Day barbecue. Okay. Any other places where I want to add with this bright yellow ink? Well, it's not as bright yellow as the paint, but it's the brightest yellow ink I have, I think. I don't think I need any. No, let's call that good. Well, I already capped this, so that's good. I'll just leave that there. Oh, fun! Yay! You know, I've never floated down the river, even though that's a huge activity here in Boise in the summer. Floating the river. That's fun. Hey, are you floating? This is a legit question. Are you floating the river with your camping gear and like be like, this looks like a good spot, and paddle over and pull your raft in and set up your camp? That'd be really fun. Unless you went down the river too far. I don't know how far it goes. You're like, I can't find a spot. It's going to take forever to get home. Or those are like completely separate activities. Something I have wanted to add a little ink to, I just noticed, is these tassels right here. These ones in the background are fine. We'll just let those be a little hazy. These ones I'd like to define a little bit better. I'm not sure what color ink. Maybe a purple. So let me go over to my ink stash and find a purple. Ooh, this will be fun. Oh, maybe instead of purple I have pink. Ooh! Let's do this one. It's not just pink, it's pearlescent. So it's basically like metallic shiny. I think that's great for party hats. Of course, the metallic shiny part is not going to show up in the final piece because once you digitize it, that kind of effect goes away. Sarah, little bar draft for the gear. That would be so fun. I bet people do that. Wolf says we float down in tubes and kayaks. Oh, you totally do that. Nice. Oh, neat. Float down to the campsite. Oh, so you already know the campsite. So you already know where you're going. Ha ha ha. Float for the drinks in a cooler. Epic. That sounds awesome. I hope you have a great time. I hope it doesn't get too cold or something. Is it early enough that you have to worry about what if it gets really cold? Though again, you're way farther south than I am, so I remember back when I lived in Southern California and later in Arizona, Southern Arizona, right on the border, it never got cold. A cold day was like 70 degrees all year. Now, that's not true. There was one time, I remember, it was so awesome. When I was a kid, we had like 5 minutes of snow in Southern California. We were like, let's build a snowman! Oh my god! And this was like, there was no way you were building a snowman. But as a kid, just like, my eyes were like stars and my siblings' eyes were stars. Float takes 4 hours. You can do it twice in one day. Oh, it was so cold last time you went. Oh, but you were in a kayak. So you think you're going to do kayak to just in case? Okay, I did my same rocking motion to mix this ink. It already looked pretty good. You can see a little bit of a line. I mean, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's a tiny bit of a line there. I have not used this ink in years and years and years, but it seems like it's good enough to be getting on with for these tassels. And I might use it on the sprinkles too, just because they're basically the same color. And even if the sprinkles weren't necessarily be pearlescent, but maybe they would. So let's just use it because it's easier. Oh god, if I can open this. Okay, this got stuck on the top. Okay. I'm going to use my nib to poke this little seal thing back into the lid. This is actually acrylic ink. So, oh shoot, I think I'm going to have to pour some out. 'Cause even though the opening is technically large enough for this, it's got this big ring of dried ink. So I'm going to do my best to carefully pour some into this palette. And what I was going to say, this is acrylic ink, so I definitely want to rinse my brush or my nib off ASAP because I don't want it to dry on there. Alright. Swipe that onto towel. Don't spill. I know. That's why this whole stream I've been working out, like, how can I make this work so I don't have to hold the bottle of ink all the time? Because at the beginning I was like, this is so hard, and I have to hold the bottle to make sure I don't spill. But then I can't move this around, which makes it really hard to draw with this because you can't draw just any old angle. You have to hold it a certain way. So I think I found the solution. This ink is very thick too, just like this yellow one though, so... Well, we'll see how this works. That's just a few teeny tiny lines. I don't need a... Like, I had to pour out way more ink than I'm going to use, but that's just how it works. Maybe if I dip it in a little bit of water, thin it out. Okay, here we go. Leaving these ones be. These ones, and then maybe a little bit... These are too small. These, sprinkles. Not sprinkles. Yeah, sprinkles, I guess. The decorations on the frosting of the cupcake. Too small for this cupcake here, but we'll put some on here as well. So let's add some lines. Uh-oh, this might be too close of a color. It's just melding right in. Didn't think about that. Yeah, I think this one isn't gonna work. It's too close. You're not really seeing it at all. Well, other than I can see the sparkle of the ink. Oh yeah, dang. I didn't think that would happen, obviously. Alright, let's get a different color. Yep, you can tell this acrylic ink, with all the other inks until this point, just swirling the brush around in the water got the ink off, but with this acrylic ink, it sticks on there. It's really important to clean it off ASAP to save your nib. Oh, let me look at these. Oh, you put the comfy one. Put the comfy one again. I guess that means Wolf is feeling comfy. And these are so cute. Those cute emotes. Alright, this pink doesn't work. I'm gonna just put it away, because I don't think I'll use it again for any other part. Put this pink away. I've got to get a darker purple after all. I thought it would be a good idea. I do have a purple ink, the same line, pearlescent, but I think it'll end up being the same problem, so I'm going to use this one. This is a darker purple, and it's also specifically for calligraphy, so it should be liquidy enough to really work well with my pen. Silly puppy. What a delicious sock you have. Chappie will lick anything, whether there was food on it or not. You just put it next to her, she'll be like, oh, you wanted me to lick this? Lick, 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 lick. Alright, wait, you know what? I think because it's calligraphy ink, it tends not to separate so much, but just in case, let's do a little rocking. I haven't inked a piece in many months, and I haven't necessarily used all of these colors in that time either. That last time either. It doesn't really look like there's much separation that I can tell. It's hard because it's so dark. This is just the bottom of the glass right here. Alright. Opening this ink up. Sometimes, I just figured this out today, sometimes there is a bubble. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a bubble on the top after you open it. What I've started doing is taking this, not over here, I'm going to put it over there just in case, but taking this and setting it on the top. Because that helps get rid of the bubble without the bubble popping and splattering ink on your hand, on your piece, wherever you don't want it. I just figured that out today. After all these years of inking, I would always just like, until now I'd be like, oh, please don't splatter everywhere, and just pop it with my pen. And today I was like, why have I always done it that way? I'm always doing things the hard way. But the easy way now, at least as long as you have paper towel available. Okay, let's try this again. Hopefully this works better. Ah, yes, that's better. That is what I wanted. Not outlining everything. Just trying to add a little extra definition. Having a tiny bit of hatching too. Ah, that looks much better. Let's do this one. Oh, it's hard to decide. Which one of these is in front of the other one? I think I've got to put this one in front of this one. Sorry, that's not very descriptive. This one in front of this one. The difference between the two is very difficult to describe, so I'm afraid that's the best I've got. A little bit of hatching here too. What's this side of sweat? Why are you sweating? I assume that's you doing it. I assume that's what the emote would be. Would be a description of your experience. Ah! I'm so happy. Those look so much better now. Oh, it's so small you can't even really see it very well. Here, hold it up. Yay, thanks, camera. Ah! It looks so much better. This is a small little thing, and anybody looking at this when it's finished probably not even going to notice. That's okay, because I don't want them to notice it for a negative reason. I would rather it fade into the background and just be a supporting element. And now his zoomies. He got plenty of sock. Plenty of sock flavor to fuel him. Oh, have a safe drive home. Hope to see you again. If not today, then on another stream. Bye. Sarah, such tiny details. Yeah, that's what I love. That's the funnest part. I don't fancy being one of the artists that like work super tiny and like, this is my illustration, the size of a quarter. I don't want to do that, but I love adding those teeny tiny little bits in a piece this big. I imagine these sprinkles to be really soft material, so I'm not adding too much ink to them. Just a little teeny tiny touch. Yep, that's good enough. Okay, rinse this. And once again, since it's not acrylic, or at least I think it's not acrylic, most of the ink just falls off when you put it in the water. You can swipe it with the towel, and nice and clean. Yay! Oh wait, what? It's well past break time. I'm having such a good time I didn't realize. Since I started at 2, right? Wait, hold on, let me look. Oh yeah, I've been streaming for an hour and 8 minutes. I didn't even realize. Didn't even realize. Okay. It's time to take a break. I have a delicious tea waiting for me in the fridge, so I'm gonna go get that. And also, stretch, give my eyes a break, all that good stuff. I hope everybody else will take the opportunity to do the same. I'm gonna put my little bee right back. Mute my mic, and I'll be back in 5 minutes. Hello everyone, I'm back. Hope you all had a great break. I did, as usual. Nice and stretched out. Looked outside a little bit, looked in the far distance, reset my eyes. I also got this delicious tea which came in my vegan cut snack box. I'm really excited to try it. It's called the Purple Iced Tea with pomegranate and orange. It's basically tea and fruit juice. So I'm going to open it a little bit farther away from my illustration, but I want to open this. Oh. Couldn't open it with my nails. I had to open it with my mouth. Okay. Let me try this. Ooh, it's so good. Mmm. You can really taste the orange. More than tea, it tastes like fancy orange juice. Oh, that's good. It's by Bahari Teas, which they make they are from, this one was made with real Kenyan tea, it says. Okay. Let's get back to work. I've been looking forward to having that drink. What is this space for? Alright, where did I leave off? What do I want to do next for some inking? Or do I need any more inking? I might not need any. So I finished with this pink color. I definitely wanted to add some more. There's a bunch of stuff that I'm going to add some graphite to, but that's last because I don't want to accidentally smudge it with my hand. Wonder if I should even do it after I do scraping and highlighting, because I really will smear it across the page. So I think I should leave that for last. I'm going to write that down. I wrote, add graphite details very last. And that way, even if I can't get to it today, so we have less than 45 minutes left. Maybe I can get to it. Who knows? But I'll do it last, and then the next thing after that will be scanning it so that I won't be touching it anymore. Oh, got another pet hair on here. That one had to have come off of me. That's why they get on there. They're coming off of me. Oh, for using your teeth to open the can. I always have to do it because I have these little weaky, like, ridiculously weak fingernails. Not only is the nail bed really small, but my nails are just thin and weak. And growing up, everyone was like, oh, well, it's because you're not getting enough vitamins and minerals, or you just don't have a healthy enough diet, and that's what's making your nails weak. But I'm eating, like, I'll call it an 80% whole foods vegan diet, the healthiest you could possibly be without being 100% whole foods, and they're still weaky. I don't think that is the problem. So anyway, I have to use my teeth all the time to open cans. You have to keep yours super short for work. That makes sense. I wouldn't want a masseuse with, like, long vampire nails and, like, massaging me like they've got, like, claws. I like to keep mine about this short, not only for taking my contact in and out, otherwise if they get much longer than this, actually, like if I were to let these grow out for a week, I'd be scratching my eye to get my contact out. But also, it's just nicer for my artwork too, because they stay out of the way for that as well. And they stay cleaner too when they're shorter. They don't get like gook underneath them. Anyway, that's my story about my nails. Make sure that was not in focus. Okay, I got that back in focus. Alright. I don't know, maybe I'm done with ink. anywhere else I would want ink. Maybe on the Gryphons, but I don't know if I need it. Let me zoom out on. So, I see. Here's a reference image on Wikipedia for Little Pied Cormorant. It's well lit. And this I could see adding some black ink details because it's very well lit, so there's really high contrast between the feathers that are catching the light. They're super bright for black feathers. And then the feathers underneath, which are super in shadow because of the bright light. But I wanted diffuse light, as if they're under this green canopy of leaves. So it's brightly lit, but it's not direct light. And when I'm looking at cormorants, so let's see what I'm seeing. When I'm looking at cormorants that are in such light, that one's in the water. I'm trying to find one. No, that's bright light. Oh, do I have to? Oh, I see. I have to go back from here. Let's find one of those ones that was not in direct light. I think it was further down. Oh, no, it's got to be further up. I'm trying to find a comparison. Oh, here we go. Yeah, you can't see the details very well on the... So I'm looking at the reference image that I used for these spread out wings here. And there's not a huge, definite line between each feather. It's actually quite a lot like that. So the only reason it might be nice to add a little bit to these close-up little babies is to help define the difference between the wing and the body. Here it's a little bit more obvious just because that's how the paint worked out. I don't know if I need it. Still, do I absolutely need it? I guess on these claws down here. I'm figuring things out as I'm going, so that's why I'm going back and forth. But yeah, let's add a little bit. At least on these claws. This is like one of the closest bits of Gryphon to the viewer, other than this beak right here. So let's get a black ink. And I'll get my favorite. I have several different black inks, but I'll get my favorite one because I've been talking about inks toppling and being careful about that. So I'll get my favorite one so I can show you this extremely well-designed ink pot. That if in the future I somehow actually use up all of these millions of bottles of black ink that I have from Art Snacks and other blind box sort of subscription type things, I will buy this one if I ever have to buy black ink again. So I'm rotating it to start with. The brand is Kuretake Zig. It's their cartoonist line, specifically for manga drawing. Find reasons to use the ink. Yeah, don't use it too much. Although, I'm going to be starting a new project. I'm not sure exactly when. I've got to do it I think I'm going to do it in between these larger full color illustrations. And it's going to be all black ink. So that might actually be a good chance to use up some of this black ink. So let me introduce it properly. I've introduced it before, so it might look familiar. This Sumi Ink 60. I don't know why it's called 60, but whatever. It says very smooth flowing Sumi ink for manga drawing. And look at this pot. It is wonderful, super wide, flat, very low center of gravity, and so wide. I'm not saying you can't knock this over, but compare that to this. It's definitely far less likely. On top of that, that's not even the, that's not the end. Oh, lid is hard to get off. Okay, that's not the end of the excellent design choices here. It's got this huge opening, wonderfully big, so that you can dip your pen in there, not get ink all over your grip, and you can even see how far the pen is going in there. That's how wide the opening is. On top of that, the lid is a pen rest. I don't know if you can see those little grooves. There's 2 little grooves there so that you can set the lid down and it becomes a pen rest. It's so well designed. I'm still going to put the ink over here to my left with all my other inks because I'm just used to that now for this work session. And I've already got my lovely little glass pen rest here. So I'll keep using that, but it takes 60 years to bloom. That's funny. So that's why it's called 60. Sumi Ink 60. It takes 6 years. It's like a fine wine. I do wonder though. I'm like, is this their 60th formula or? Alright. It's adding a little bit of details. I'm especially interested in defining where the talons come out of the fingers. Here we go. Nice. Nice. It actually dries so similar in color to the watercolor paint. It sort of merges with it. So subtle. Nice. It's what I wanted. I didn't want something. I'm fangirling over. It is so good. It is so good. It is my favorite. I'm not being paid by Kuretake, but Kuretake, if you ever watch this, if you want to send me a lifetime supply of Sumi Ink 60, I will continue to fangirl over it as I use it. It makes such a difference having good quality stuff. It's so amazing. When you find something that is like, oh, I didn't know I needed this in my life. This ink, just like all those other bottles of black ink, well, except for one. There's one that I actually bought myself. This ink came to me in like an Art Snacks box. I don't know if it was Art Snacks or a different one, but I didn't find it on my own. But once I found it, I was like, this is the ink. This is my soul ink. Another thing that's great is the way that it curves in here. I don't know if you can actually see that. I'm not going to tilt it. But it's so nice for scraping off the bottom of the nib. I can't describe why. There's something about that that's really good. I really like anyway. Okay, add a little bit of details. I don't know how well they're going to show up in the scan. You can kind of see them if you go like this. You can barely see it on the camera. I don't know if it's going to make that big of a difference, but since I did it over there, I'm going to do it over here too. I think actually you can see it more on this Gryphon. Maybe. Maybe. Maybe not. I'm not sure. I think it's fine. It's fine. I think I'll try adding a little ink on this Griffin's talons too. Even though it's so far away, it's just got a couple blobs for hands instead of the amount of details. For instance, the amount of detail on the face isn't really matching what I'm seeing on their hands, so. So help it out a little bit. At least, I think, at least defining the talons would be enough. So I'll just start with that and see what I think. Let's do a little bit more, showing the shape of the fingers. I'm adding little teeny tiny hatching lines. So now, even though I've defined it better, it's got that sort of cartooniness that I didn't really want up here, but I don't really see. Well, I guess I can fix it in Photoshop, but as far as what I can do with physical media, it seemed like the best I could do there. But here I'm going to add a little bit of hatching so that it doesn't just look like an outline over a single color. I want it to look a little bit more shaded. Blob hands is totally my style. Well, the blob hands are gone for this baby griffin. They grew some detail on their hands. It's hard to draw hands. I did the same thing everybody else does when I first started drawing anime style. Put the hands behind the back so that you don't have to see them. All my characters stood with both hands behind their back. Like, what? They're just standing like this. Just this casual pose. Also, I can't draw hands. Okay, anything else with the black ink? Maybe I'll actually add a little hatching right under here. This spot in the nest is the only part of the really inside floor of the nest that we can see. I think it would look nice to have some hatching across there. Hopefully I don't regret that, but I'm just gonna do it. Yeah, guilty of hand hiding too. I feel like everybody, unless they already have previous experience, like they already know how to draw hands, I feel like everybody does that. Okay, I'm going to try to keep the hatching light, thin, and not touching too much the other black areas because there's so much with all these feathers being black. I don't want it to be too much. I think that's good. Just a little bit, just a little touch of hatching. All right, rinse this off and wipe it on the towel. Actually, I'm going to flip my towel around. I have multiple spots with big blops of ink, and I don't want to accidentally wipe my nib on that. Okay, there. Now the big blobs of ink are on the inside of the towel. Oh, what's next? Getting so close to done. might be time to start some scraping work to get those nice textured highlights. This will sweep the image with my eyes to see anywhere else I might want to add some ink. It just feels kind of crazy that I would be done with ink so soon because I worked on watercolor for like weeks and weeks and weeks. But I really do, with this style of piece, I just do a little bit of detail work and that's it. That's the only places, maybe a little. So we've got hatching here on the cupcake. I'll put a little bit of hatching on the underside of this beak right here to really emphasize that this is the underside and not just like a different color patch. So I already have this little bit of yellow ink put in here. Let me close my black ink so it doesn't dry out. Black ink closed. But what I've been finding with this yellow ink is that it's not working that great with the dip pen. So, and also this, I'm not going to hold it over the illustration, but this dropper here seems to be broken. So what I'm going to do is just put the dropper in water, and hopefully that will grab a little water to thin out this ink. So yeah, this is not actually working as a dropper. So just getting a little bit of water on the outside of the dropper and mixing it in here. Alright, maybe that's thin enough to work a little better. Cap the ink again. Okay, let's try it. It's hard to get enough ink on here too when it's in the palette like this, but I can't get the pen in that jar because the neck is so narrow. Okay, maybe this is enough. Let's try it. Alright, seems alright. Yay! Just like with the cupcake, I'm not going to do the whole thing, the whole beak, just enough to suggest a little more shadow. That's probably good. I always say that. Let's put a little bit at the very end. I always say that's good, and then I'm like, nope. Found something else. Okay, that's good. Rinsing off the ink. Rinse off my nib. If I do much more work with dark colored inks, I'm going to have to change this water. For now, it's alright. Wipe that off. Clean and ready for the next round. If there is a next round, might be good. Might be good. Okay. I put this black here. Black lines hatching to show extra shading. I wonder if I should do it on other parts of the nest, like in between, or if that's good. This is a unique spot. There's no other area where we're seeing the floor of the nest. Let's just leave that. I don't want to do too much. One of the biggest things I've had to learn is when to stop. Okay. Alright, let's call that good. Yay! Ink done. I'm going to take a celebratory sip of my purple iced tea. Mmm. It's more like fancy orange juice. Okay, ink done, which means it's time for some scraping work, which means I need my X-Acto knife. I'm going to go over to my storage closet. I have a couple different tools that I've used historically. I guess I'll get them all out and just test them out and see what happens. Generally, I feel like I just end up defaulting to the standard X-Acto knife. But I do have these two really long, thin ones, which can be good for doing really super teeny tiny. So this has a cover on it. Could be good for super teeny tiny scraping work, but it's often not enough. And it doesn't really have another one that's just shorter. It's like the same thing but shorter. And the only reason I have two of these is because they came in like art supply boxes. So I didn't know I was getting them. I also have this weird one, which I use sometimes. I think it came with a kit for doing like Sculpey clay. So that one works sometimes too. I have this old champagne cork, which I use to keep these from being a danger to anyone trying to find them. This tends to be my favorite though, because it has that really sharp tip. Oh, you can't really see it. Let's start with these long, pointy ones though. I always want them to work. Cork is a good idea. Thank you. I don't want to... Some of them come with this nice cover, but as you can see, these two did not. So like, how am I going to protect myself? Okay. Places where I want some thin shading or a return to the original paper color. Yeah, this one just doesn't work. And it's also bent. I think it's not really for cutting, it's for poking. Poke, poke, poke. So, I tried it. I always want it to work and it doesn't work. Let's just use the one that always works. Let's use the old tried and true X-Acto knife. This one's great too because you can take it out. You can unscrew this and take the blade out and put a new blade in. You can't do that with... Or maybe you can. Actually. Okay, take that back. Flipping the blade and store it in the handle. What? That's genius. Hold on. How? Like this? Oh, it doesn't go in. Mine doesn't go in. Wah! Well, good thing I have a cork. That's such a great idea, but it doesn't work for mine. Well, that's too bad. Okay, now I gotta put this back together without cutting myself. There we go. Oh, come on. Come on, you can do it. You can do it, X-Acto knife. Go back together. Just the blade as if you were replacing it. I think mine just doesn't go in. So the blade is wider than the handle on mine for some reason. Or you just like stick it in like this. I think it's still wider. Oh well. That's a good tip. But I don't know if... I'm gonna try. Yep. For some reason my handle, it doesn't go in. It's too wide. Dang! That would have been such an awesome way for me to do this. Oh well. Post a pic on Discord. Okay. Well, at the very least, anyone else with an X-Acto knife can try it out. Okay. Got this back in. Alright. I'm scraping away. First place I'm targeting this flower petal. I got a little bit of paint on the petal when I painted the leaf. And since the flower petals are just the color of the paper, well, for the most part, I put down a light green wash at the very beginning. But this will scrape away that paint, and so now it's got a more solid edge right there. That's my first bit of scraping. I think I'll do the same thing. Just tighten up the edges a little bit on these flower petals. Can also give them a bit of a glow effect too if I get down. I'm not aiming for it, but if I get down far enough to get to paper that wasn't stained by that first wash of color. Same thing here. We've got a little bit of paint coming in from the branch. And I painted the branch that's supposed to go behind this. Even though I like to keep my space clean, these are such little tiny bits of paper that I just swipe them into the air. They just become part of all of the particles floating around in the room. There, nice. Let me see. I'm looking at Sarah's, Oh, I see. Okay, so I wasn't doing it wrong. Oh, okay. Okay. This is 6 out. That's still better than nothing. If you don't have a cork, it's still better than nothing. So at least the pointy part is not sticking out. So if someone's like, I need something out of this drawer, and then you're like, ah, my hand. Won't have as much chance of that. Okay, right here I've got a teeny tiny little speck of paint that I don't want. It flew off from somewhere else, so I'm just scraping that away. This teeny tiny little piece. There's still a bit of a mark there, but it looks better. This is not such a hard, defined dot. Okay, I'm just looking around for more places to... I guess what I'm starting with is tidying up edges. I know I kept saying that, oh, it's time for highlights, but I'm actually using this to just tidy up my painting first. Yep. Sarah, mix in with your shed skin cells. And also the shed skin cells of the puppies, the kitty, and the pigeons, and all of their other shed things, and the dust, and all of the little bits and pieces from all the bugs and bacteria, and who knows what else. The mixing and becoming a part of the amazing dusty air. That's so mean. Serves him right for reaching into an art drawer. That's what you get. Bloody hand bleeding all over the place. Ah, I didn't know. So this part right here, I kept forgetting, but it's actually meant to be the petal of another flower. It's just that all we can see is this one petal. So I'm cleaning up these edges especially so that it will be more obvious. Maybe. I mean, who knows? But hopefully more obvious that this is supposed to be a flower petal. The thing that I find with scraping is that you gotta kind of work the paper. It's not like cutting where it's like one and done. The paper will hang on, and so you've got to detach all the little fibers in order to get that clean bit that you're looking for. So there's less than 10 minutes left, so I'll probably be resuming scraping for tomorrow's stream because this takes longer than inking. So even if it's not necessarily as much space that I want to cover, it just takes longer. And I think it might actually be more space that I want to cover because I wanted to do scraping on at least the front edge of the nest. I think that's a good idea to keep it to the front edge of the nest, and that will help bring it forward, but that's gonna take a while. But I'll just keep working until we are done with this stream window. Don't touch my good scissors or they touch you back. It reminds me of this like t-shirt that I see all the time. Not all the time, but I've seen it multiple times in my life. With various different scissors. It will be like, you used my hair cutting scissors for what? You used my sewing scissors for what? Or whatever. It reminded me of that. Okay. I'm going to work on this branch next because I can both add highlight, nice texture highlight to it, and get this bit of green paint that's hanging down into it at the same time. And this is going to look really nice. And I'm not going to worry about getting every little fleck of green paint off. I'm just going to scrape where I want highlights, and then even with there's going to be a little bit of green paint left under this line of highlight, it's still going to be totally fine. So it's more about creating separation. When I'm trying to remove paint, it's not about being all perfect. It's just about creating separation between the different elements in the scene. And I don't want it to just be this one single stripe of highlight, because that kind of flattens it out. So I'm going to add a little bit more farther down as well. Help it look a little bit rounder. And give it a little bit of texture as well. Alright. Maybe I should use my swipey brush instead of my hand. Not only does that keep the very, very little oils that come off of my super dry skin, keeps that off of my piece, but it's actually more effective than the hand anyway, because this is a bunch of bristles instead of a smooth skin. Yes! Oh, here, let me show you the difference between the side of this branch that I've worked on and the side that is pending. Oh, thank you, camera. So there's the scraping on there. It's got a nice texture, but also makes it look like it's getting some highlights. And then it looks extra nice against these shadows that I've already put down. And then compared to over here, it looks so much, the branch looks really smooth and doesn't look as interesting, nor as three-dimensional, I don't think. Let's do that. Other side. Make it match. And I can also use this opportunity to really define the line between the branch and this wing here, because a little bit of the black paint for the wing seeping into the branch. And I'm doing broken up lines as well. I'm doing some lines of highlight, but breaking them up so that it's like it's hitting different textured areas in different ways. The light's hitting slightly different depending on the bumps and the shape of the bark. It looks so good. It's like it's standing out. It's just it's popping so much. Wow, I'm so happy. Well, it just happens. You keep making stuff and you keep figuring stuff out. I take that as a compliment though, so thank you. And I'm always learning. Always learning something new, some new way of doing something. Even just today, I was like, oh, if I put my inks over here, then I don't have to worry about them spilling. So how long did it take me to figure that out? Because this branch is at this kind of angle instead of straight up and down like this. This is like these other branches are rather. Okay, hold on. I'm tripping over my words. These other branches are relatively horizontal, but this one is at quite an angle. So I'm not going to do as much scraping on it, because I feel like being at that angle would mean the light isn't hitting it as directly, especially in this diffuse setting that I'm trying to create. And I think that maybe even a little bit of light could be, like some reflective light or something, could be hitting it more strongly on the underside. All right, but on this part, I will do the same amount of scraping as on the other side of the griffin that's sitting on this branch. I can't remember where I learned scraping from. It might have been from my favorite watercolor book, The Complete Watercolorist's Essential Notebook. I read the title off of the spine. I love that book. I always go to it when I need some advice. I've never just sat and looked through it, but it's a reference book for me. I'm not the kind of person that would read a reference book anyway, so. Alright, I think that's good. Yay! Well, I think that's a good stopping point because we've got less than a minute and I finished these two background branches so I can start on a fresh area tomorrow. Why did I say tomorrow like that? Tomorrow. Alright, so let's look closely at the stuff we did today. Actually, we didn't really do much here. We did work on these claws. They're not showing up very well on the camera. It doesn't look like. Put a little detail ink there. Scraping on this flower petal, for instance. Get that cleaned up nice. This one cleaned up nice. Actually, lots of them. Little hatching there. Extra ink on the baby griffins, on this tassels. I'm so happy with that. Such a small area, but it really it was bothering me, I realized. Lots of ink on this cupcake and on this beak holding the cupcake. And then, of course, the scraping. Biggest areas of scraping we've done as highlights are these branches. Oh, I just realized I didn't do any scraping on here, but it kind of looks fine as is. Well, if it comes to mind tomorrow, I'll add a little bit more. Boom! Another solid 2 hours of work done. Yay! Let's see who shall we raid today? Who's streaming? I do have a streaming notification, so hopefully someone's still streaming. Oh, it's hard to choose. But I guess let's choose Casey Snow Art because she has less viewers. So let's raid Casey Snow Art. Allow me to reorganize my workspace real quick. Move that camera so you can see that while I'm pulling out my... Carefully pulling out my keyboard. Alright. Boop. Alright, I gotta open a new Twitch tab so that I can make sure the raid works. /raid KC Snow Art. And that is spelled CYSNOW Art. Alright. Boom! Here we go. The raid is counting down. Yay! While it's counting down, I want to thank you for joining me. I will be back tomorrow, same time, for another 2 hours of illustration. We might be able to finish the physical media work on this in another 2 hours. We'll see. So I hope to see you then. But the raid is ready to go, so let's go! Yay, looks like the raid worked. So if you are still on my channel or you're watching the recording later, that's it for me today. I hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching!